compared to that now, PO, I mean, I put in a PO yesterday for one brand through a distributor. Came out to, I think it was like 30 or 35,000. So.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Up FBA here on YouTube. Today I'm joined with my student Matt, who's been in our wholesale program for a little over a year. Today we're just going to be going through a whole bunch of questions I have for Matt. He's going to share some experience over the past year of building his wholesale business, some of the hills and valleys that he's faced. So yeah, Matt, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Maybe give us a quick rundown, background, where you working? Are you doing Amazon full time?
Yeah, so my name is Matt. Obviously, I started Amazon. Technically, I started November 2023, I think. So almost 2 years ago, exactly. Maybe October. I started with OA. I did a few courses or entry level things, a couple communities, and I just figured, what do I have to lose? Give it a shot. At the time, I wasn't working, and from there, I kind of just got hooked on the idea of just mainly the sales velocity and how quick things sell on Amazon. Everyone knows that Amazon is the biggest marketplace, but it's a lot different when you put something up for sale and it sells. You can sell 10 of it in one day, type of thing. Where the only thing I was familiar with was like eBay or Facebook Market, where you put one or two things up and they sell in a week or two. And there's anomalies there where you have fast selling items, but from there it just became it was still like a hustle, it felt like. And the idea of wholesale started coming into mind. I kind of just got hooked on it since, and it's my full-time gig.
So you are 100% full-time now with your wholesale business as one of the streams of income for you?
Yeah, pretty much the main baby right now. That's
super cool, man.
Yeah.
So you jumped into the group May, June of 2024. So 3-4 months ago, just a little over a year ago. When you jumped in around that time frame, where were you at in sales on a monthly basis? And were you doing some wholesale or 100%, or were you doing OA at the time?
So I think I had joined right at the end of May or the beginning of May.
Yeah.
I had signed the first warehouse in June, my first warehouse lease in June. And sales-wise, was doing a mix of OA and wholesale a bit, if you count like a couple early like POs and stuff. Still opening up accounts and getting things like that sorted out. Sales, I believe it was between 20 and 25,000. Like 20,000 in May, 25,000 in June type of thing. I want to say mainly OA still at the time, and a lot of FBM, believe it or not. Still a good amount. It took me a while to like transition to FBA. I know some people that are the opposite. They start out and they're just doing FBA immediately, and like for me it was total opposite. I love FBMing stuff. I mean, you can see behind me, like I still have like crap. I still FBM stuff, or even if I come across something at like, I don't know, Costco or Walmart, I'll take 10. I'll FBM them, if the margin.
Yeah. So what do you remember, for those like listening that might currently be doing any form of arbitrage, like retail or online arbitrage, would you recommend people make the transition into wholesale? Do you feel like there's a level that maybe it's not necessary to transition into wholesale? Who do you think would be a good fit for jumping into wholesale based on your experience and growing over the past, like year or so?
So I think you really got to ask yourself, if you're doing it part-time, if you're doing it full-time, like what's kind of like the end goal. And then after that, with the time that you have, are you wanting to be on like the hustler mentality side where, you're using the discounted gift cards and the promos and that, which I still do to this day, but it becomes an issue or like a bottleneck when you have no consistency. It's like, all right, there's a July, 4th of July sale. Okay, you hit it big, you hit a home run, you get all this, and then it's like you want to reorder the product, you can't reorder the product. So it came to a point where I felt like it just made sense to be like the next move. So I think the more serious you are about it and the more consistently you want income, the more you're going to start thinking, all right, how do I like keep this, steady, as opposed to just really good month, okay month, big sale. Like, so that's what I think is probably most people.
Really, would you say wholesale is definitely to like really pull it off in full? Vendor relationships, suppliers, ongoing purchase orders, prepping and packing, pretty regularly, shipments going out every single week. Do you feel it is I would say it's very much so, like, if you're going all in, it's a full-time thing. Like,
Oh yeah,
it
for sure.
is a full commit from the vendor relationships and placing POs and watching your capital, and we'll get into that here in a few. But is that kind of how you feel as well? It's like you really have to full commit to make this work.
Yeah, I think the sooner you like call it a business and take it serious uh the sooner you're able to kind of like understand how much time. And I think that's also another thing, you have to like be true to it, or true to yourself. Like you can't just side quest it, or you can't if you're not really going to do it full time, then I think it's going to show in your sales, and I think it's going to show you're going to get burned out, or you
You're
know
gonna get out what you put into it, essentially. You're gonna have the
yeah,
result.
exactly.
Kind of walk me through the process. What did it look like to establish your first few wholesale accounts? Was it hard, easy? Did you have to call everybody, cold call, email? What did that look like for you?
So I did a lot of the the flame was lit under me, so I did a lot, like a whole month of just emailing and calling, and mainly emailing, if I'm being honest. I know a lot of people say you should jump on the call, but I also have a hard time. I don't want to say lying, but I don't at the time I don't think I was making myself feel as big.
Yeah,
What
like
is it?
professional outreach.
Like different pitches, yeah, a couple different pitches.
Sure.
Um, calling yourself a retail business owner, or a distributor sometimes, but just saying that you were a store that's interested in, and not making it too fancy, or trying to get too crazy with it.
For people like writing emails and making phone calls, would you typically? I always like to just refer to myself as a retailer. We own a retail business based out of Michigan. That's where I'm from.
Hmm.
Was that the typical email to most of the? I usually don't entertain ecom, Amazon, all of those things unless if they ask, I'm happy to tell them that's a big part of our business, and we buy from a ton of maybe their competitors or maybe some other brands to make it seem like, hey, look, like everyone's selling to Amazon sellers, it's okay.
Yeah.
Um, it's not this big of a deal, but I usually don't bring it up. Did you ever bring it up or deliberately mention from the beginning, or you just call yourself like a retailer?
So I would never really mention the e-commerce. I would mention having multiple platforms. I did get a website, like a generic website early on, which I treat as like a digital business card. Like I'm not having anyone check out on it, but it's more of it's just like a safeguard. You're saying that you have other platforms you sell on. Sometimes I would say, we sell on Amazon along with other marketplaces, or I would just stick to, plain and simple, we're a retail business owner, I'm a retail business owner, and then we carry your brand currently. I think that's always nice when you're able to put your foot in the door and say, hey, we already have this stuff and we're already selling, like we're already a business with or without you. Like we would like to do business with you if you could, or saying, hey, we work with so and so, like their competitor. That is always my favorite.
I've always had a lot of success basically opening the competitor accounts. Little tidbit for you guys watching, a little gem. If you open the competitor distributors to your distributor, you're going to see a lot of like items. You're going to see a lot of overlapping between their catalogs. That's a great opportunity to look at both catalogs and kind of see who actually has some of the best pricing, with maybe the shipping incentives as a consideration, or what company gives you 10% off, 15% off if you hit a $10,000 purchase order, right? You can kind of cross compare really who's the best company to be spending your money with when you open those competitor accounts. And speaking of purchase orders, Matt, do you remember how much was your first purchase order, and what does a PO for Matt's business look like today?
The beginning purchase orders were definitely like hundreds, stuff like that, and it's not a small amount necessarily. I mean, it is now in the grand scheme, but at the time it's a lot of money, and it's an opening order, and you feel like probably the most quantity you're going to get. It's definitely a little nerve wracking. So compared to that now, PO. I mean, I put in a PO yesterday for one brand through a distributor, and I ordered a couple different variations, and it came out to, I think it was like 30 or 35,000. So it definitely a big difference, and it's still weird at times, just firing that off, and
Yeah,
that's a replen too, which I'm happy to say, but it's Yeah, it's definitely a big change compared to like a year ago.
So you were doing roughly 20-ish, 20, 25, $30,000 months. And you were saying how much are you currently doing today on average on a
So
monthly
on average, like the last like 3 months, like 125, 150,000 um,
per month?
per month. Yeah, yeah,
Wow, that's crazy. So you like 5x, essentially like 5x.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy to say. It's still weird because I feel like I'm not really doing much different, and I think you would agree. I think you kind of always mention that too, where it's like you don't really want to complicate stuff. Like you're literally buying stuff and selling stuff, and it doesn't have to be the craziest, fanciest stuff, but it's just a numbers game. And if you're ordering 10, you could easily order 1,000 if you have the capital, obviously, and things like that. But it really is a numbers game and just scaling. So it's been cool.
How many suppliers do you actively buy from, Matt? Is it like one amazing company that you've been working with building, or is it a couple brands, couple distributors, or mainly just distributors? And roughly how many?
As far as distributors go, really like five closely, maybe two really close, and then like another like 3 to 4 that I'll still check from time to time. I was always, I mean, I feel like whenever I see wholesale stuff or people pitching stuff, like they make it seem like, you have to open accounts, like eat, sleep, and breathe, open accounts. And it's not a bad thing. Maybe that is like, works for others, but I kind of like the idea of being very efficient and understanding the distributors between their orders, their order cutoffs, their deliveries, their transit time, like all that stuff, and just being efficient with those few.
Yeah.
Also, it's nice to not to hear that as a new seller, like if you are getting into wholesale and just starting out, people really like, it gets a little intimidating where they're like, hey, be on the phone nonstop, be on the phone, like open accounts when you could go to like a local distributor, which you actually had told me that. And I still work with them to this day. I think you asked me like a month ago or a few weeks ago. You were like, "Hey, like you still work with so and so," and I was like, "I'm on the way there now, I think, or I
Yeah.
was just leaving there." So yeah, just
So
don't be intimidated by that.
when it comes to the like local distributor, local wholesaler, that type of thing, with how Amazon is, these days, we have to have proper supply chain, and the most important thing is just making sure that your local distributor, and it could be kind of a big company. Some of the local ones are actually good size. Make sure that all of their products are being purchased directly from the brand or the manufacturers, right? They really should have the direct account. Either we go direct or we buy from the distributor that actually has that direct relationship. Or you could just reach out to the brand directly and just ask them, hey, we have a wholesale account. We're a customer of this business. Are they one of your authorized distributors? So that's the easiest way to check out if maybe your local distributor is a legitimate authorized company for those brands. All right, Matt. So I got a kind of side question for you. If you were to sit down today at your desk and you said, I would like to add 2 new suppliers, how would you do it? Where would you look? And what have you found to be the best way to go about doing that?
Okay, so 2 new suppliers, I would, probably begin by looking through either, LinkedIn, Googling the current supplier you work with and competitors, and you could even ChatGPT and get some ideas, but that's like, surface level. Um, the easier it is to find, I think you would agree, like the less sauce, so to speak, the
Yeah.
less, you know so I would start there, um, probably go to LinkedIn with either some of the emails of current reps I have, and find similar. They have a
People also searched for.
yeah. So I would start there. Maybe try and see some brands or some distributor names I've never heard of, and
Mhm.
kind of look into that a bit more.
So look your current distributors up on LinkedIn. This is a gem for people watching. Look up your current distributors. Go to the side of LinkedIn. It says people also searched for, and we know people looking at these companies are probably either within the industry or want to work with that business. Off to the side, you can get kind of a bulk, kind of pops up a page of 10, 15, 20 quote unquote related, very closely related businesses, which could be for us leads. It's like basically a lead generation tool. So if you have
Right.
it, but you got to start with a good source company on LinkedIn. If you have the wrong type of company on LinkedIn, it's going to be all the wrong leads. If you have one of your really good suppliers and you're trying to find who their competitors are, it'll probably work quite well. So I would agree with that, Matt. I think that's really good. And Chat GPT is Yeah, you can pretty much type in any industry and prompt it to give you a baseline. Bonus points if you start on Chat GPT and then you incorporate what we just explained with LinkedIn, you can build quite the list of take the companies and find all the other ones.
It's always good when you see some of the suppliers you're working with currently. I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing competitive wise, but um, you want to see like at least some companies or distributors that you're familiar with or that you even work with come up when you do that ChatGPT or however, like even the LinkedIn thing, because then you know you're on the right path or you know you're looking at the right area. Um, and then from there, I mean, as far as opening up accounts and stuff, I love like the foot in the door where hey, I'm already working with so and so, or like we spoke about earlier, like hey,
Yeah.
I already buy this brand. Do you guys sell this? And it's not always one for one, but sometimes they carry SKUs or variations or different flavors, so to speak, of like a brand that you like or that you carry,
Mhm.
and they have the other, the weird variety one. They have the one, and you're able to kind of just like bounce between the two, or even if they're in stock. I think we spoke about that briefly. Like staying in stock is sometimes an issue with suppliers. So I think having two
Yeah.
similar, even if the pricing is not identical, just having two baskets to pull from, or if you need to.
Matt, with your Amazon business today, what's your software stack look like? What do you find yourself using on a daily basis in your business?
So software stack, I have well, the obvious would be Keepa. I use Inventory Labs personally, and I think they recently rebranded to Seller 365. SellerAmp, it's either RevSeller or SellerAmp. I started on SellerAmp, so I just stay on there. Not necessarily one's better than the other. Um, I have Smart Scout, which I believe you had actually recommended that. Once I started really getting into wholesale, helps a lot with brand direct. Even just sourcing brands, it's similar to Keepa, but I don't know how to explain. It's just a nicer interface and stuff. So Smart Scout, and then from there, a UPC scraper like Analyzer Tools or Scan Unlimited, which essentially you take these big UPC lists that you get from your suppliers, you throw them in there, and seller board. That's always just good, like very easy.
So are you shipping with Inventory Lab or are you using like something like 2D workflow?
So I'm shipping with Inventory Labs, and again, I started there, and I kind of just kept it all in house.
So Matt, over the past year or so of doing wholesale, as your business has grown, do you find that building a strong relationship with your supplier has really like carried your business? I'm always talking about build the relationship, build the relationship. From your experience, like, do you feel now that you kind of have a closer knit relationship with your sales reps and the ability to negotiate pricing? Everyone talks about negotiating in wholesale. What does that kind of look like for you today?
I think you were the first one that mentioned it or really hammered in the idea of like not always taking from your sales rep, but also or from your distributor. They're kind of also showing your value to an extent, and trying to just build that relationship long term. And I worked with one for a while, and I wasn't even that profitable, to be honest. But I kind of knew like if everyone was profitable right away, then there's no barrier to entry. So I
Have
think I
you,
even reached out about getting my rep a gift,
yeah,
which
we are
is
just
funny.
chatting about hooking them up with a little holiday gift or something like that.
Yeah.
Have you seen your margin increase? Like everything, everyone in wholesaler talk about, oh, some stuff might be break even, some stuff might be fairly profitable in the beginning. And everyone encourages, and I kind of encourage, like, if you're not going to lose money necessarily, and you
Right.
can get that first PO and you can start that kind of snowball in the momentum of some restock products, some test buys, do you see your margin has increased a good bit with some of the same type of products, but like now, a year later, bigger POs, better pricing? Would you say that's fairly true with most
Yeah,
suppliers?
there's definitely products like I buy now and like replan that weren't profitable or like even coming up on certain, price lists because
Yeah.
it was just out of the realm. So I definitely get like some perks or like volume discounting and stuff like that. And also the help of the sales rep where, they know you by now and they'll reach out sometimes, but that's always the best when they reach out with something because it's usually, a good deal, but they know what you like and they'll look out for you also.
So, Matt, did you make any critical mistakes in the process of scaling your wholesale business? Like when you look back to first couple months or even 4, 5, 6 months, I mean, early stage wholesale, making the transition from arbitrage, was there anything kind of looking back that you're like, dude, I cannot believe that happened? Or like, if I could do it all over again, I'd make sure not to do this. Would you like to share like what maybe some of those things were?
Yeah, so I haven't had like any horror stories. I have also been like very risk averse where like I kind of go like an inch deep, mile wide approach where I was always testing SKUs and again that's something you always told me where worst case you just break even or I'm just always collecting data early on and
Yeah.
just seeing what sells, what doesn't. If I was questioning a certain keep a chart or something, I would buy, one case of it and see, oh, it sells better than what I was thinking on the keep a chart and go from there.
So, have you hired any virtual assistants for your business? Do you have a VA? If you do, how many hours a week are they working? What type of stuff do you have them work on?
So I started with my first VA. I think it was actually almost a year ago, um, and I worked with them for about 6 months, and they were great. Um, they had certain health issues or health concerns and unrelated obviously and they left, so I actually just got a new VA and the process, it's not a lot, but definitely have to go through training again and things like that,
Yeah.
and it's not going to be a lot of people think almost like a leads list, like they're just going to generate leads, and it doesn't work like that, and like they're a person and you got to
Right.
understand that and work with them, and as much as you've learned and taken in stuff, they also need to learn and see the process firsthand. So I have one VA currently.
They do mainly purchasing. Are they manually going through catalogs? Have you taught them how to scan spreadsheets? What do they typically work on?
The idea was OA and wholesale,
Mhm.
which my first VA was able to do that pretty well. And since then, I've kind of focused price sheets and have them go through stuff. I recently gave them or introduced them to Smart Scout, which
Nice.
they like a lot, going through brands and kind of veering off the path and going down the rabbit hole of, let's say they see one brand and it's
Mhm.
profitable, like, okay, let's go in Smart Scout and see the whole brand or the whole catalog or, the same variation but different flavor and this and that. And so
Yeah, that's one of the, especially when it comes to scanning tools, that's one of the main things I got through the course videos is like when you find a lead through a scanning software, pay attention to what brand is that,
mhm,
knowing that if your distributor might have, the blue, the green, the red, the black, or they might have the candy apple and the grape and the blueberry, any colors, variations, whatever. So take that brand and dropping it into Smart Scout and just seeing what other if this item is profitable for my
yep,
distributor, what other, so that was a big shift, at least in my business, Matt, is like probably come like year 2 or 3. I think it's cool that you learned it so early on, but um, eventually realizing that spreadsheets just kind of tell you what rabbit holes to go down, and then you can cross reference all of that brand from your supplier and kind of do some manual back and forth between
yep,
Amazon and the catalog. And I don't really go just top to bottom and get super fixated on that. Like I got to go to the next one in the sheet, the next one, the next one, the next one. Go until you find a profitable lead. Go check out that whole brand. That's the best way to do it. So I'm glad you
yeah.
shared.
That's actually what I've been having. What I've been trying to explain more to my VA is kind of just knowing we have that green color in that size, knowing we have the 10 other colors, or knowing that if this one's $1, the other 9 are going to be $1, and kind of just like understanding that and
That's a big
manually
part of it.
looking that up. So I've been trying to explain like this size, ground spice is this price. Well, spices might not be a great example, but
Sure.
you know what I mean. If this thread is this color, like you have access to all 9, 10, 15 other colors, they're all
Yep.
gonna be the same price. Like I can guarantee it for the most part. I mean, unless you're changing the fabric. So
Yeah. That makes it really easy to also like manually source. Even on Amazon, you just type in
that's
the
my favorite.
the brand name, like your spice example. You could just type in, bad brand example here, but like McCormick 6 ounce.
Yeah.
You just type in McCormick 6 ounce, and if they basically have every single SKU of the McCormick seasoning, like 30, 40, 50 SKUs, that size bottle has about the same fulfillment fee on every single listing and
Yep.
the same. So if your cost is $1.50 and you're selling it at $7.99, and that makes you $1 or something, and you're happy with that, every other McCormick 6 ounce listing that sells for $8, you could hop on.
Right. And because you manually typed it in, there's no software, there's no second guessing. Like whatever you typed in and comes up in your face on Amazon, like that's those are the listings that are like coming up for anyone else. So those are the hot listings. I mean, of
Not,
course, you use the
not
software.
only that, for like one item, just selling it as a single unit, but are there 2 packs of those variations? Are there 6 packs of the other variation? Like,
Yeah,
you can get really fixated on just one brand. You only really need, I don't know, 3 to 5 brand kind of sections from a distributor to
like
have.
catalogs, yeah,
Yeah, within the catalog. Like,
or portfolios rather. Like,
yeah, you're basically just buying, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 SKUs of each brand from your distributors, and it makes up, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 replens. You kind of just build and build and build. So for any newer wholesale sellers watching, Matt, what advice, after everything you've learned in the past year, anything we've maybe covered on coaching sessions, maybe something back in my course material, or maybe something you just learned on your own by trial and error, what would be a piece of advice you would give to somebody that's like early stage wholesale? Like, they're doing outreach, they're trying to find products. Was there ever a point in time that it was like frustrating or felt like things weren't working? Like, what kind of advice would you give to somebody pretty new in wholesale?
rolling with the punches and understanding, like we mentioned it briefly, like the barrier to entry. Um, it doesn't just like you transition to wholesale, open an account, like
Yeah.
that's like the end game. Like you just get like there's a reason, bluntly, where I could go to your supplier and try and order A, B, and C that you have, and I would never get your price. Like it's or at least not anytime soon. Or it's that like black and white. Like so, what do you kind of have to offer, or just sticking around? So me being unprofitable with one or two distributors who are now like my main distributors, that was just me consistently either making some money, breaking even, and it wasn't like my whole business was on those distributors. I was still doing other SKUs and other brands and
Right.
whatnot in OA, but staying consistent and just making that spend, and they'll eventually see that and reciprocate that.
And you're like over a year into it now, so just stay committed. I think, Matt, you've grown. I mean, that's a pretty big jump from a $25,000 a month business to like 125 to 150,000 a month. Would you say overall just consistency? Like, you got to just show up pretty much every single day in try to find some new leads, reach out to those first couple companies, rep and ship.
Yeah, I definitely think you definitely got to show up, having the consistency, and I think it's also important to have kind of like a group, or at least a lot of times I'll ask in your Discord group a question about something, and I even have a different group of just a couple seller friends, and
Sure.
just having that network, or that safety net to kind of pop a question in. You could always Google stuff, but hearing it straight from someone who either like you that did it, or someone that had the same problem. So sometimes I even I'll type into the search bar on some of these groups like yours, and I'll look up an issue, and I'll see, oh, someone else had that, or just having a network like that just helps a lot.
So, Matt, you've been in the group a little over a year. We've done lots of coaching calls together. Maybe you've hopped on some group sessions. Probably, I don't even know, literally like 2,000 some messages back and forth between just in our Discord DM, just between me and you, just supplier questions, shipping, logistics questions, whatever it may be. What's been your honest experience overall? Has it been helpful over the past like year or so? Yeah, do you want to share just your honest experience about how that's been?
Yeah, so when I first joined, I mean, I had ideas on like what I wanted to do or what to do, or just seeing it from
Mhm.
other videos and stuff. But I was kind of on the fence. I don't know if you remember about joining another group or having some type of mentorship, and
Yeah.
I think it was definitely like the best decision. I mean, the Discord group itself is very active, and having that network, like I said before, and just referencing any issues you run into or any questions you have, whether it's brand related. There's people doing their brand direct in there. There's people doing, I think there's even prep owners in there and stuff.
Yep.
So that's always nice. Also having you reach out at times, which I thought was I was a bit surprised, like having someone actually reach, instead of me hitting you up with a DM, or shooting a
Mhm.
DM, having someone actually reach out or say, hey, um,
How are things going?
yeah, how did so and so do, or how did this distributor go, or what about this account? Like there was times where I didn't even mention the account again or whatever, and you had checked up on that, so that was nice. It was also when I first transitioned into a warehouse, having your videos to reference, it's all in what is it, like a course format, having your videos to reference.
Warehouse mini courses back there.
Warehouse, yeah, that's a gem. I mean, you got everything from the pallet jack to the pallet wrapper to how you set it up and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a nice one stop, like just having everything, and again, the network is really important. So, thank you again for that. Obviously, you've been a big help with that.
Well, hey, Matt, is there any final things you want to share? Is there anything maybe we didn't cover that you just wanted to quickly include?
I think data, and inch deep, mile wide is to be the most safe, especially in the Amazon waters as of lately.
So test buys, see how the products go before you go too wild with it. Would you agree, Matt? Like over the long run with any supplier you're working with, once you have, like you said, you don't really need 200 accounts open. You need a few solid suppliers with good brand access. And if their pricing is somewhat workable, it's learning how to do significantly more with what you have. I think a lot of people have maybe some great suppliers in front of them, but have no idea how to work with your sales rep, make offers, get a back order or special order on those items, and just overall like no system on test buys at all. Would you say that's like pretty true, like now where you're at in the business, to just do more with what you already got?
Yeah, I think that would be interesting to have like two people open, like maybe like a seasoned vet open up an account and a new person open an account, and just see how one person's able to get a better price than the other, because it really does come down to that. We don't need to look for the Nike socks, so to speak, and it's more of these middle brands, the quiet listings that are really like consistent. There's some listings, I sell like 30 units a month, but I mean, they're so consistent at a couple bucks margin, and like, you do that 10 different things and you're making a few $100 a month just net. So,
and when you get cool with buying products that I call them like the one a day. We always talk about the one a day bread and butter SKUs.
perfect.
But if you got 40 of them, that's a big difference. If you got 60 of them, and you start realizing for each item you buy that just is profitable and meets all your requirements, it doesn't really matter what you're bringing in. It just add it to your purchase order, bring it in, put your stickers on, get it out to Amazon, let it sit for your 45, 50 days, and let it trickle sell. It's really all of these products, they really just end up on seller board, and you're just like, okay, cool. What's selling well? What's making money? Let's reorder some stuff. Test more, do more with what you have. Thank you, Matt, so much for coming on and sharing all your experience in wholesale. There are definitely some gems we had back in there, so you guys go back and find all the gems if you missed them. Thank you, Matt, and we'll see you guys in the next video.